Oops, I almost did the scary voice again. Welcome to Syntax, everybody. Spooky. Thanks so much for everybody for tuning in. My name is, oh no, we have slides for this. Welcome, Scott. How you doing? You guys get a look behind the scenes of how unprepared we are.
Well, we got to clap too. You didn't even clap.
Oh,
you
yeah.
put your hands up. You put your hands up, and I put my hands up, and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna clap." No clap.
All right, let's do the clap. Ready? 3, 2, 1. That was the best clap we've ever done.
Not for me.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it. Thanks everybody for coming out. This is super fun. We've got a lot of interaction today, so make sure that you're glued to the chat, and we also have some Q&A and some stuff. We got links coming up in just a sec.
Yeah. So to answer your question from a minute ago, I'm doing good, Wes. I'm doing very good. Those of you who are listening on the podcast, this is being originally recorded at Reactathon 2020. So shout out to everybody who's listening to it post fact, but this is going down live right now. How do we want to kick this off, Wes?
I think let's get into intros and then we'll get into the show.
Yeah. Well, okay. So for those of you who have never heard of Syntax, we are a twice weekly podcast. And on Mondays, we have 30-minute or shorter episodes we like to call Hasty Treats.
And on Wednesdays, we've got Tasty Treats. That is our hour-long screenshot. And Scott, you got your cursor in the middle of the slides.
Man, you always drive the slides. I don't.
It's true.
Yeah.
No, that's my problem because I could have CSS cursored none on that when you're in full screen mode with the CSS. There's CSS for full screen, right? I could have cursored none it, so my bad.
You should have added print styles as well.
I actually have done print styles before because I wanted to export my slides to a PDF so I could upload them. So
we do print styles for our invoices.
Oh, I actually have done that as well.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
My name is Scott Tolinski. I'm a developer from Denver, Colorado. You can find me at STOLINSKI on just about everywhere. Instagram for dance moves and Twitter for code moves.
My name is Wes Boss. I'm a full stack dev from Canada. I tweet most recently Fleet until they shut it down, and Instagram at Wes Boss.
Fleeting down?
No, they're not, but it's not taking off as well as I thought it would. So we'll see.
I fleet.
All right, what do we got next? So today is a live podcast. What do we got on the gamut? Next slide, please, Scott. Next slide. It's weird not being able to control the slides.
Well, yeah.
So we're going to have All I Want for Christmas in React.
JS or NAS, where you have to decide if the library that we're referring to is a real JavaScript library or if it's not, if it's fake, if we made it up, or if it's potentially something else as well as a JavaScript library.
We've got underrated versus overrated, where Scott and I talk about hotness you hear about often, and we're going to give our opinion of whether you should spend your time on it or not.
We're also going to be doing a fun game that we prepared, and I'm actually really excited about this one because we have not talked a whole lot about it, but we're doing something called Syntax Error, where Wes and I are going to throw up a code that has a small error in it somewhere, and we're going to have to try to find it without code styling or anything like that.
We've got JavaScript hot take tweets. That's all I'll say about that for now.
JavaScript hot take tweets. And we also have Q&A with Scott and Wes. The Q is me and the A is Wes in this one.
For the Q&A, we've got a link. So if you have a question you'd like us to answer, go to pigeonhole.at/tasty. And that will, there's two things on there. We're gonna play a little polling game in just a sec, and then there's also a Q&A. You can add your questions in there. So if you've got something already, throw it in there, and you can upvote the good ones and whatnot.
Yeah. So let's get into the content here. The first thing we're going to be doing is all I want for Christmas in React is, and these are fun things. And if you think some of these things should not be added to React, that's cool. I think these are just sort of some things that maybe we've seen either elsewhere or just things that we think could be better that we really like, would love to see in React. So the first one, I think this is be on top of a lot of people's list, would be suspense for data fetching. There's just an endless amount of jokes you could make about being in suspense about suspense, but I'm not going to go there. It's just once you use suspense for data fetching, or at least give it a little try, it's really nice to use. And I would love to see more of this, but man, yeah, I think we're just going to be waiting for a little while.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wish that we knew what the status of it was, or like, I know they're trying to spend their time to see, like, make sure that they make the right choices and the best approach. And we have all this like possible server streaming stuff that's coming. So pretty interested to see what comes of that. Next one we have here is mount and unmount animations. This is a general theme for me in React, is that I look over at, it's that meme where I look over at some of these other frameworks. I go, that looks nice. Like, I kind of wish that a lot of this stuff was just built in and you didn't have to use third-party library. I wish there was just like a first-party way to do this type of stuff. And I don't even do a lot of animations. I know, Scott, you do lots, right?
Yeah, I do lots. And specifically the unmounting animation bit kills me so many times, because like if you're nested deeply and you want to control like the delay, like even a 0.03 second delay on unmounting a component, it's kind of difficult to like really orchestrate that. And it's not like it's not doable. We have things, but if you are several components deep and you want to unmount the parent component, orchestrating something nested like that, not super duper easy to do still.
This next one I'll let you take, because I know this is your baby.
Yeah, well, okay. So I would like to see single file components, which like doesn't necessarily say that I need single file components. And really what that is the idea that you have a file and the framework can understand a little bit more about the application or that specific component just by the nature of the fact that it's in a file. The obvious example of this would be something like a style tag in a svelte file. A style tag in a svelte file automatically scopes the CSS within that file to that component. And the amount of JS you could save typing just by writing a little style tag below your component and having it just work, little sprinkling of magical rock salt. Do you have any fancy salts? We have a volcano salt, which is black.
Ooh, really? No, we have what's the flaky salt in diamonds?
Oh, yes,
diamond.
What is that stuff? Courtney just bought it.
I sick picked it on the podcast before. Maldon. Yeah. Maldon. And we bought, like, on Amazon, you can buy like a bucket of it. And last summer I bought a bunch of salt cellars, which is like a little wooden thing with the lid on it, and I gave everybody in my family a salt cellar with the salt in it. It was an awesome gift, super cheap, and it's kind of nice little stocking stuffer. So hot tip for you.
I would take a salt flight, add a little bit to my component files, and have single file components there.
Next one we have here is prevent default shortcuts. Just like one of these little things, like if there was a syntax for handling events that was like star equals, I think I don't even know. Maybe I saw this in another framework. A lot of this stuff is Svelte. Like, yeah. So what's the Svelte syntax for that?
You just you can just tell it to ignore the prevent default, like directly on the component via a directive. I forget what the syntax is offhand. But
like
nice.
Star, like on click or handle change star equals, and it like immediately prevents the default on that. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, and I'm really trying to limit the amount of times I say svelte here. I promise.
Sveltathon. Jonathan says this is Sveltathon. It's true. Maybe we just need to move over. What do we got next here? Form input state to mapping.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
I just think like forms in React like that, like everybody uses forms in their React application, or almost everybody does. And wouldn't it be great if there was some sort of like built-in thing? Like I remember back to the Angular days, I still remember like it just like you just like ng bind, you give it a piece of state and it just syncs in like, oh my gosh. And like if it's a number, it will parse float or parse into it. I know there's lots of libraries out there. Whenever I talk about forms and everyone's like, have you heard of Formic before? I'm like, yes, I've heard of Formic, and like it's awesome, but like I wish React would be default, have all that stuff baked in for you.
When I look at like Formic code, it's like this is no less complex than just writing all the state updaters myself. And that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for complete. I mean, yes, I want complete control, but I'm not looking for endless fine tunability. I'm looking for do it all for me. And that can be nice. I actually ended up even writing my own form library because I didn't like any of them, and it's still not great. And maintaining your own form library kind of sucks in itself. So like, yeah, there has to be a better way than making controlled state for each individual or reducer or whatever. There has to be a better way. Now we're going to be kicking off something that we like to call JS or NAS. And this is going to be a fun little game where we shout out a library title or potential library title, and you tell us if it's a JavaScript library, an object of which we're going to define, or both. So we've done this a couple of times on our live shows, and it's one of our favorite games, so we got to keep coming back to it. So you got to head to pigeonhole.at/tasty, or scan the QR code in the slides here, and it will get us up and running. Let me bounce on over to...
Yeah. We got 19 people in there right now. 25.
Wes, do you see the slides or do you see Pigeonhole on your end right now?
I see Pigeonhole.
Yeah.
So click through to the JS or NAS.
You bet.
36. 42. How many people should we wait for? We got 122 watching on there, and got another 164 on YouTube. So let's see how many we wait for.
You are currently...
Oh, now it's going up.
Going up.
I think that's the YouTube delay right there.
Skyrocketing.
Let's wait till we go to 100. So,
what are you sipping on, Wes?
I'm sipping on Young Rival. It's a strong IPA. In Canada, if a beer is over like 5.2%, it must legally say strong beer on it, which is funny because it's like laughs in German, you know? Like,
yeah. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but we went to Montreal for my brother's bachelor party, and we were like, oh yeah, bachelor party, right? And so we went to the store to get a bunch of beer, and we were all sipping on these beers, and I had maybe 3 beers, and I was like, what is going on? I do not even feel tipsy at all. And we look, and they're like 2% beers. And we were basically just like hydrating ourselves the whole time. Yeah, it was a lot like Utah. It was very funny. We were just like, oh, what? So we had this giant case of 2% beers that we had to go through. It was ridiculous.
That's hilarious. All right, 91. Let's start it there. Ready?
Let's start it. I'm ready.
Start quiz. All right. So, is graphene carbon atoms organized in a hexagonal lattice, or an go ahead. Sorry, I forgot how we do this. Go ahead.
This is the flow, Wes. Come on. Or an opinionated Python library for building GraphQL libraries.
Oh, I forgot to delete that in Python.
Python.
I thought it deleted the NP, or both.
Or both. Get your vote then. We got big number.
Wow, they're flying in now.
Yeah.
I can see the answers right now. All right, we're going to reveal the answer. Both. It is both. So I looked it up, what graphene was. And it's when carbon atoms are organized in a specific way. Kind of interesting Wikipedia read. Next up, we have floodlight. Is it a super simple syntax highlighter for XHTML documents?
A large light used to illuminate dark outdoor spaces.
Or both? I think we're getting people on this one, Scott. It's fun to see the answers. I get to see the answers streaming in. By the way, shout out to Pigeonhole. They make this awesome like conference software where you can do like live polling like we are doing right now. And it's awesome. Like we checked out probably 5 or 6 different pieces of software. And I think I want to have one of their devs on the podcast just because of how super fast and like slick it is.
Yeah.
All right, ready? Reveal answer. Oh man, wait. Only 3.7% of you got it correct.
It's literally both. Why? I think you might have goofed this one, Wes.
Oh yeah, so obviously it's both. So I goofed that up. But
it's only
40% of you got it right.
It's not a light to illuminate dark spaces.
It is. Oh man. All right, next.
Toy machine. Is this an early 2000s skate brand?
Or a view-based GUI for creating state machines?
Or both.
Hello. I'm watching the YouTube chat and everyone's like, wait, a floodlight literally is a light.
The original description for that one was a literal floodlight. And I was like,
I changed it. Yeah. Oh man, that is good. All right, here we go. Answer. Boom. 51% of you were correct. It is an early 2000s skate brand. Although that would be a good name for
it's like totally believable. It's so believable.
A view-based GUI for creating state machines.
So believable, yeah.
All right, next.
Joplin.
Is this a free open source note-taking and to-do application based on Markdown? Sorry, I got cut off there.
A city in the northwestern corner of Missouri.
Or both. They are streaming right in.
Streaming.
I like all the skaters in the chat are like, Toy Machine.
Yeah. One of my favorite skaters skates for Toy Machine.
All right, ready? Reveal. Really? Wait, hold on. Who's your favorite skater?
His Daniel. Man, his last name's really hard to pronounce. Daniel like I always want to say Leviathan.
Amazing. I'll check them out. All right, ready?
I'll share them with you.
Both. 50.9% of you guessed it is both. I didn't even know this. I was just looking for. I went on GitHub's like trending repos and I saw Joplin. And I was like, oh, I wonder what Joplin is. And I also figured out like it's a wicked Markdown app. Well, like, you know, we were talking about like how I can't take Markdown notes on my phone and like have them sync to just files on my computer.
Yes.
Looks like this does that.
Oh, I used something else for that.
What is that? Do you remember? I'm very curious because I'm in that space right now.
My phone is currently dead. So.
Oh yeah. Scott, poor Scott. This is the new weekly segment. What piece of technology is broken with Scott right now?
Oh, dude, I can't even. My iPhone stopped working just out of the blue. It started boot looping, and I'm gotta send it off. I have no idea what's going on with my tech. I have no idea. All right.
Next one.
Noko. Is this a JavaScript library that connects to no-code tools like what was this one?
Bubble.io. Sorry, they got cut off. I didn't realize that. Or is it a smart 12-volt car battery charger?
Or both. Do 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 do.
All right, ready?
Ready, get the vault in. Oh, this one was very split. This is a Carvel battery. And in fact, I was my battery just died because I haven't driven my car in like 9 months and I didn't drip feed it. So I was like looking at battery stuff on Amazon, and that's where I found the NOCO. That's how we come up with these questions here.
So you got to say 37.8% voted the correct answer. We got to say it for our audio only listeners.
Audio only. Yep.
Next one we have here is inner. Is it an Internet of Things smart light bulb?
Or a CSS and JS library for selecting parent selectors. And unfortunately, this one cannot be both.
This is a good one. I kind of like not having both, but both, like, at least you can throw people.
Yeah, both is definitely the wild card in my mind because it adds that little bit of like, well, could it be?
Yeah. All right, I gotta reveal it.
Oh, it is an Internet of Things smart light
bulb.
Got him. Yes.
46.5% of you guessed it was an Internet of Things smart light bulb.
Which is funny about this is because I actually pick the inner bulbs on an upcoming episode, and I was like, wait, when is that episode airing? Did I ruin my my JS or NAS with this?
Oh yeah, you're a sick pick. Next one is Capcoma Strand. Is it A, thermoplastic carbon fiber composite rod used in modern building?
Or a Redux-like state management library for Svelte? Or both?
Wow.
Votes and get.
Let's just say I'm surprised at this one.
I think it's safe to say that you're surprised about all of them so far.
I thought this one would have got people. It's not getting people. People know what this is. Do you know what this is?
People got or people did not get got?
They did not get got on this one. Not at all.
Do I know what this is? I'm going to guess it's a thermoplastic carbon fiber composite rod used in modern buildings, but I'm not quite sure.
All right, reveal.
Yes.
Almost 77% of you guessed correctly. That's an odd thing to know, that it is a thermoplastic carbon fiber composite rod.
I think most people could look at this and say, there's no way that's an actual thing and that it's most likely a thermoplastic carbon fiber composite rod.
Oh, man. All right. Next one. Sputnik 5.
Sputnik V. Is this a code name for an upcoming WordPress release with the built-in headless? Sorry. Built-in headless. Getting that cut off.
Yeah, they're getting cut off. I think that's I thought I had them all in there. Maybe it's a limitation of this thing. Or is it a non-replicating viral vector COVID-19 vaccine?
It's funny because we should be voting on the ones that the other person wrote, because I'm not quite sure.
I made this up, so you tell me what you think it is.
I think that this is the WordPress thing. Okay.
I think people are Googling it because it was very much skewed in the early days to the wrong one. And now it's going up. All right, ready? It is 45% of you guessed correctly. It's a non-replicating viral vector COVID-19 vaccine. But 44% of you thought it was a code name for upcoming WordPress release. WordPress. Possible. It's not, though, because WordPress only uses jazz musicians for their code names.
Well,
who doesn't know that?
Okay.
Oh, that's good. People in the chat are saying how many they got right. 1 out of 8. All right. The highest score was 8.
And I bet that person, the highest score person, probably picked both for Floodlight and was like,
yeah. Yeah, you know what? So there's 2 people that got all of them correct because obviously I goofed up the headlight one, but that was fun. That was fun. Awesome. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Let's jump back to the slides now.
Yeah, sorry. It's for some reason when I go into full screen, I have to go like back. I have to go out of full screen. All right. So next thing we're going to be doing is talking overrated and underrated. And this is sort of like a segment where we're just kind of gauging each other's interest or ideas on some of these new tech things. So let's kick it off with the very first one is Dino, overrated or underrated? I'm going to say right now, it's probably underrated. It's very nice to work in. I think the permissions model of it all is very forward thinking. I think the entire import via URL is not as painful as I expected it to be. Overall, the TypeScript experience with it, not having to run a bundler, not have to do any of that, was just very nice. It's very nice to use. And I like that all of their tooling is sort of, well, what's the reasonable way to say this? Not all over the place. It's not a total mess. So I like it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say underrated as well. Not to say that you're going to build your next app on it, because that would probably be not a good idea, because it's very much in the early days.
Yeah.
But there's like a lot of, and you probably have heard this on the podcast, we've been talking a lot about shifting tooling right now. We've been talking a lot about ESM becoming the thing now that it's in Node. We've been talking about modules and URLs. We're talking about TypeScript. And Dino seems to just nail all of those things. And that's really cool. Will it replace Node? I don't think so. Maybe it would. You would see it coming for in 5 years. Like, it's not like we're going to wake up tomorrow and be like, oh my gosh, I have no skills left. And that's the other thing about it, is that if you know JavaScript and you're in Node, you switch over to Dino, no problem. But it's kind of cool. And I'm very curious to see how Node will react to this. But also it's harder for Node to just do this stuff, because they have to maintain compatibility with the rest of the Node. That's why ESM in Node was so hard to get right, because they couldn't break 10 years worth of work that they've done. Whereas Dino could just be like, all right, brand new thing. Here we go.
Next one is on the sort of somewhat related, is ESM import from URL. And I think this one is very, very, very good. In fact, it only took me a little bit this is underrated, I would say. I think importing anything from URL is really pretty underrated overall, because it is, to me, one of the fastest ways to try out a file. I know that when we were trying out stuff with TS in Dino, it was so nice to be able, let's just import this file from a URL. So I think just in general, importing from a URL and being able to access the file as an import like that, very, very good.
Yeah, I think so too as well. First, you can do that you can do it in JavaScript in the browser, which is super cool, that you can just, you can write an app, have an HTML file, script tag, type of module, and then just start importing stuff from different URLs that are out there. And I think that's pretty cool. I don't know how I feel about upgrading, what happens when you upgrade a bump a version release. I'm sure there will be tools around that. Because you literally import it from whatever cdn.com /v 2.2.0, and then what happens when 2.0.1 comes out? Do you find and replace? Do you have to copy paste that?
In Dino there's a a standard of doing a deps folder, deps.ts, where you do your imports, and that sort of almost becomes a package.json if you think about it.
Okay.
But it's just with import statements. So that's definitely a thing. There are detractors from that, but it seems like that's what we taught in our Dino course. So it seems to be pretty much of a standard in that world. So who knows, maybe that becomes a thing.
So you have a deps.js file where you import everything you need for the project?
Yes, and then
is it global import, or
then you import from that file. So it's like it's almost like a package.json because you're setting the version when you're importing it, and then if you want to up the version, you're only modifying it in one spot.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah, because you can even
downsides to it, but yeah,
you can use the export from syntax for that, or you say like export React from HTTP, whatever, and what that does is it imports it and exports it in the same go. Oh, that makes so much sense. I didn't think of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice. Next one is remix.run. Wes, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, this is the new React framework for building apps and websites from Ryan Florence and Michael Jackson, two of the devs behind React Router, awesome React thought leaders in the space, and they are sort of like taking a look at the landscape and rethinking it. And it's closed right now, and I think it will be. You have to pay for it. But from what I've seen, it seems really interesting. So I'm going to go underrated on this one. And not that everybody's going to be using it, but I think that they are rethinking a lot of things, especially with what I've heard is that streaming from the server and this pain that we have, which is server side and client side rehydration and whatnot. I'm very curious to see. And I bet if they like nail something, like I bet other frameworks will adopt that as well.
Yeah, we're pretty much all going. We're agreeing on everything. I think it's underrated. I also think that like you said specifically about the streaming from server side. Man, that stuff sounds so good to me. I maintain our own server side rendered React application, and it's not a lot of fun. It's not super easy, but it also feels like it's doing more work than it needs to. And I think the Remix folks are really figuring a lot of those aspects out. Next one is going to be XState, which, believe it or not, I'm going to say is underrated. We should have things that we actually know were overrated. Yeah, that actually might have been a problem in our approach to this. But XState, hey, I don't know if you've used state machines at all, Wes, but when we were writing the video player or the video uploading system. So we upload our videos to all of those who have not heard, we use a service called Mux to do our videos. So we upload our videos to Mux, and building that video uploader was like the thing that made me see the light for state machines, specifically because there were so many states that this uploader could possibly be in. And so for me, it was pretty eye-opening to control those states in the state machines world for the first time and just say like, all right, I really feel like this uploader is really solid compared to some of my other code, which was mostly Boolean flags set by state variables and things like that.
I've not used it, so I'm going to go medium rated, but it's one of those things that you just can't hear people stop talking about it. And we had David on the podcast 6 months ago, and he talked about it, and it just made a lot of sense. Like I've certainly had the problems that it solves.
Yeah.
I think we should skip a couple because we're running a little low on time. So do you want to move to the Lighthouse scores? Or
hey,
no, sorry,
no code. It's overrated.
No code. It's overrated. I don't want to lose my job.
No code. Overrated. Yes. Render props. Overrated.
Render props. Overrated.
WASM. Underrated.
Under.
Lighthouse scores.
Overrated.
Rated. They're fine.
Rated.
Okay. Now we're going to get into a really fun one that we're calling syntax error. And this one is so much fun that Wes and I have really not consulted on this beforehand. So this could be a total mess. So syntax error is we are going to be showing each other code with no syntax highlighting, and the other person must find out what's going wrong with it. And we initially had some idea of like giving points based on a timer, but let's just see how fast we can do it. For those of you who are watching along, I have please go ahead and try to solve these on yourself as well. But I have no clue how dastardly Wes has chosen to be, and Wes has no idea.
Dastardly.
See, I was like, do I want to work in? What do I want to do here? Okay,
give me the code, Scott.
First one, let's do it. First one is for Wes. Can you find the bug in this code? And no, you do not have to know the libraries involved.
Animate present from frame motion, portal modal from utilities. Okay. Const There's a no error.
Nope,
No, that's not it. No, I see the arrow.
Don't look at the chat because somebody spoiled it in the chat.
No, I'm not looking at the chat. Is axis max width equals, you got back ticks on that sucker. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Return portal, animate presence portal.
This is one that you will. This is a common bug. Common bug.
Close action is being run on mount, not on the close event.
You are right.
Yes. All right. 10 points for me. Next one, Scott, for you.
For me. Okay. Okay, I've got to not look at the chat. Okay, we got an array with an object name, string properties. Okay, that all looks fine to me. I see that you are using semicolons here, so that's no, I'm just kidding. So you're destructuring name. Oh man, this one is dastardly. Okay, this is
not, hold on. We should say this is not something you should do, but it is valid JavaScript, except for the part that's the syntax error.
Can you use a property parts 0 before you?
You can declare, you can destructure a value and then create
renaming it. Oh
no, we're creating new variables based on the previously destructured values.
I didn't know you could do that. Okay.
I know. Nobody knows that. That's
yeah.
You know what it's handy for is if you want to get the last item and the first item of an array, you can say like, you can destructure the length from an array and then.
I think I know what the error is, by the way. Is it that
give it to me.
Is that you're just returning first and last in the object and not returning the object itself?
Yes, that is it. There is missing parentheses around the curly brackets.
Missing parentheses right there.
Nailed it.
All right, this one.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Scott. This is a const series form playlist. Oh man, he even typed it.
Oh yeah, this is TypeScript. I tried to remove any of the TypeScript stuff, and I forgot.
That's fine. Use state if there's a playlist author ID.
I would consider this one dastardly, but not like it's not hidden.
Color.
It's not hidden.
Background color. It's a syntax error, right? Like not like a.
It's this code will not work. It will run, but it won't work.
I'm gonna have to go to the chat for this one. This one, the props could be defined somewhere else.
No, sorry, props is a type.
No,
it's a type.
Fine.
This is TypeScript, so I should have removed that.
Use state is not imported.
No, I'm sorry, that's not it.
No, that's right. Come on,
okay.
Come on.
Sure.
All right, tell me what it is.
The actual error here is that a select list does not have an options.
I was going to
property.
say that. I don't want to look like an idiot, like I didn't know it.
Yeah, so select list does not have an options property. Everything else was just sort of noise. Yeah, everything else was noise. Okay, next one. For me, okay, function. Okay, you spelled that correctly. MP3 URL. I always look for that. I feel like you're going to do something like that. Okay. Const.
I would never do something like that.
I'm going to pull the ref you and say use ref is not defined. Okay.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That your podcast component is outside of something. You're just, or is that just?
So the first is the function definition, and then below it is using it.
Using it. MP3 URL is equal to. Here's a string K. Audio is closed. Audio ref. Use ref. Controls, hell yeah. Target set volume. E set volume parse. Volume is equal to volume. Step 10 by max range. Ooh, this one is difficult for me to find. Use stage
good one.
Set volume.
Isn't it funny how dependent we are on Like people used to be like, oh, I just use Notepad for coding, but how dependent we are on for silly little mistakes.
I use my my styling a whole bunch.
You want to know it? Yeah, nailed it.
The audio source says MP3 URI. That
killed it.
See, that to me is dastardly. I don't think that to me is dastardly.
Yeah, I tried to use like a lot of like distractions because you're like, oh, is ref done right and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here's a good one for you, Wes. So buckle up.
All right. Import React from React. Import link from React Router DOM. Postcard. Post style link. You have a nested component called card. If link return link to.
Where is the bug? At least I didn't taunt you in this one.
What kind of bug is that?
So React bug?
You can't. Maybe you can. You're passing the prop with like a object and a string in it.
What are you talking about?
Or no, not an object. Sorry, the curly brackets with the string in. You can do that though, right? I'm not. Usually, when I do it that way, it's backticks, but I don't see why a single quotes like the color on the author card.
The color on the author card. No, that's fine. That's
okay.
That's a misdirection, is what that is. That's what we call that.
I see what you're doing there. Okay.
It's just to say, hey, you probably don't write like this very often.
The style's missing double curly brackets.
Yeah.
You're not passing an object to style on the link.
You're right. So for those of you who are watching and paying attention on the link component here, we used a style property and then just passed in some a property and a value, but there was no containing.
That's a good one.
Yep. So they're all fairly. Oh, I got one more. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't in the mindset. I gotta.
Oh, this is just a one-liner.
I mean, I know what the bug is. There's a bug here. The date get full year is like a space between it. Is that correct?
That is wrong. That is valid JavaScript. Did you know that?
Space like that?
Yeah, it works. Try it. New date space dot get full year. Isn't that weird?
I don't want to try that, and I have no idea why that would work, and that really makes me upset. See, that's dastardly.
Yeah, I don't know why actually.
That is dastardly. Okay, what a year. So you have the opening and closing curlies. Oh, you got an extra curly. 2 curlies.
Yep, nailed it.
2 curlies.
That's good. Isn't that a good distraction though with the space?
It's perfect distraction because nobody's ever seen that. Nobody ever sees that. Yeah, this is pretty good.
All right, we'll move into some hot take tweets.
Hot takes.
I asked on Twitter for some hot take tweets. What are your JavaScript hot take tweets? And everybody gave me their opinions, which is hilarious because my Twitter's been ruined for 3 days now with people sending me that because people do it, but people reply with their hot take, and then there's every single tweet has a 40 thread argument behind it. So the first one is from Lori on Tech. Spread syntax isn't super readable, and you probably should use something else if you can have it. Yes, I just shared an Advent of Code solution using it, so sue me. So I really like this one because this has I do it myself, but it's not super readable. Hot take tweet. What's your take on this, Scott?
I think it's wrong. I don't know.
Me too.
This is gonna bug me because I'm the type of person who does want to go onto Twitter and be like, no, that's wrong. It doesn't matter. In fact, but I agree with Lori that when I don't want to try to claim that she just started using them because I doubt she has. But when I first started using them personally, I felt like this is not readable. But now that I've been to the edge and back and I've been using them for so long and I understand it, like I see through it for some reason. I've been able to see through the lines of the matrix, and now I just like it a lot. But
once you know what spread is, then like you obviously have to know what it is, but
but
once you know, it's the best. It's the best.
It can definitely be a little much. Next one is from Chris Haleman.
You missed one. No, keep going. We're running out of time. Go to the.
Okay. Next one is from Chris Haleman. Console.log is lazy and slows you down as a terrible debugging experience. Chris can be right about all of this, and I will still use console.log until I enter the grave. So, no, debugger is great. Debugger is fantastic, but sometimes it crashes my browser, and sometimes it's slower than using or just a simple console log and seeing actually if the output.
We did a show on Syntax about like advanced debugging techniques with like people ask me, what else do you use? Breakpoints, break on. You can listen for DOM changes, all of that stuff. You can view network requests and all that. Those are great, and I use those when I'm in trouble. But nothing wrong with the console log. I love a good console log. Optional chaining makes code so much more readable and makes it harder to debug when it comes to optional props or fields.
I love optional chaining.
Me too.
It's my baby, and I will defend it.
I've not run into a really odd bug, because that's the thing, is like it could be undefined anywhere along your chain, and you wouldn't necessarily know where it was undefined unless you took them out. But you could also just pop a breakpoint in there or log the thing one step above to see what is coming in.
What's funny is that once I moved to TypeScript, it made me realize just how unsafe some of my code was. And like sometimes the solution is, if you're in a conditional, just dropping a question mark in there to do the optional chaining, and it's like, all right, now this is safe. It's going to work. I don't have to worry about it ever again. This next one is from Dan. Dan says, JavaScript really isn't that bad as long as you avoid double equals and for ... in. Dan is dead on. JavaScript is really not that bad, and it's gotten better all the time. A lot of the people, I think, who criticize it or even criticize the changes on it are maybe people who came from other languages. They're using JavaScript, and it all feels like hectic and chaotic at this point. And it is kind of chaotic, but once you get in it, you got it. And I really enjoy working in JavaScript and now TypeScript for the most part.
Big fan. Double equals, I don't use it. One of the other hot takes was double equals is fine. And the other for in, use for of instead. I was added to the language a couple of years ago, and it's awesome.
Yeah, for of's worth that.
Next one is the NPM ecosystem has turned JavaScript development into a game of Legos rather than real programming. What? And to that I say, I'm a Lego master. I wouldn't be able to build some of the stuff I build without some of the packages from much smarter people. That's the beauty of JavaScript, is that you can reach for these much harder things like OAuth implementations and bcrypt when you don't necessarily have to do it. I wouldn't know how to build that myself.
You know, Wes, real programmers, they mold their own Legos out of their plastic that they have forged from the oils of the earth. I don't know about this one. Yeah, I mean, that's all unless you're writing like a binary, everything you're doing is the exact same as what you're saying NPM is. Okay. React is the worst choice for beginners, doubly so in its current state. Yeah, I kind of agree. It's not the worst choice for beginners because it's so widely used. That's why it's a good choice for beginners. It's so widely used, you can get a job doing
Looks good React. On your resume.
Right. But if you are just trying to understand DOM events and whatever, man, keep it vanilla. And if you want to move into a framework, I don't know, keep it to something way easier than that.
Yeah, that's so for beginners listening. That's not to say you shouldn't learn React. I literally have a course called React for Beginners. But there's a handful of things you need to know about React. You couldn't be able to just jump in. But I think that's the same for a lot of stuff. So I think I agree on this, but you could still learn it. It's still not super hard and complicated. There's just more. You got to have like a list of like 5 gotchas, you know?
It's also kind of like saying like pancakes are the worst food for breakfast. They're still pancakes, man. Like they're pretty dope.
Yeah. Next one, Aaron Bushnell says, if you work at an agency, really try to avoid using using things until it's absolutely necessary, and even then only what you need. When you manage hundreds of sites, it quickly can become a tremendous source of technical debt. I agree. As somebody who still has a CoffeeScript site in production, and 6 or 7, I've been working this year to convert all my Gulp sites over.
How in the world are you still
and CoffeeScript? I'm not writing it anymore, but like it's still running and it still runs good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely, that's the beauty. I loved doing agency work and freelance work because you could choose whatever you wanted, but you can definitely fall into a hole if you start using, you just bring on a whole bunch of stuff. It's the same thing with WordPress plugins too. If you go bonkers on WordPress plugins, you're going to have a bad time because half those things are going to be out of date or not maintained or break.
They're going to install 8 versions of jQuery.
Yeah. What do we got next?
Do we want to get into Q&A? Because
let's move into Q&A. We're running out of time here.
Yeah, because we keep going forever on these
like
tweets.
100 more of these.
Yeah.
Some good ones. Go visit that tweet and listen to all the popular opinions. So if you've got a question for us, go to pigeonhole.at/tasty and ask a question, or you can drop it in the chat as well, wherever you would like to do that. Let me open up my admin board here. All right, I've got one here. First question is from Anonymous. If you recently started doing web dev work, which career path would you choose? Startup, FANG. FANG is Facebook, Amazon, what's the other? Apple, Netflix, and Google. Is that right?
We should actually start making up like a fake FANG with like different companies in here.
Yeah.
It's Ford.
Fedora.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. So would you choose startup, FANG, or / big tech companies, or freelance or contract work? If I started today, it depends. For me, I look at some startups and I don't envy the work-life balance and the grind and how quickly things move. But I also know people who get into startups and they're young and they've got nothing but time and whatnot. Certainly easier. And I also not to say that startups are only for young people, because there's lots of people that are running great startups. They just work 9 to 5 and they're done, right? But I think on the flip side, there's also a very heavy culture in that. FANG.
I really like studio work a lot. Like that's an option too, working in a design dev studio, because you get a lot of experience with many different projects, and especially earlier on in your career, it can give you a lot of exposure to different projects in working with clients. Many times you're in client meetings yourself rather than, being some project manager. So you can get some managerial skills. You can get some, some project skills that shift very rapidly.
I also am going to say, if you can get the FANG job, go for it. Just don't allow your lifestyle to inflate what they're paying you, because it's very scary to be making $200,000 at Facebook, and before you know it, like someone's got to pay for that Tesla. And if you get sick of working at a FANG and you want to go do your own thing, like I get DMs like this all the time. People are like, "Oh, Wes, I want to make courses like you do. I want to be able to just dick around on the internet like you do." So like that would look so good on your resume. Like, I work for Google and now I'm doing my own thing. Ex-Googler makes a new product or whatever. I think that would be kind of cool. So if you can get it, go for it. Otherwise, I'm a big fan of, like Scott said, studio. I went contract, freelance my own, and it worked out for me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. Eric, real quick before we do the next one, asked in the chat about breakdancing being added to the Paris Olympics. I have been following the breaking in the Olympics thing for maybe like 15 years now, maybe longer than that. They've been the group that's behind it. A lot of people have been trying to get it in since the literal 80s. So I'm very excited. The Junior Olympics for it went really well. A lot of the people in the scene are concerned about it becoming exploited by the masses or whatever. But to be honest, the Junior Olympics went so well, and they didn't really change it too much, so I'm pumped. This Anon says TypeScript all the things, and yeah, I'm pretty much in. I really like it, and I don't see myself writing anything else. Even like today, I popped open a quick utility, and I would typically, if I'm firing up a quick code utility, I'm going to hit up just some off the cuff JS kind of like real quick stuff. And I did it in TypeScript, and I wasn't any more encumbered than I was in JavaScript. Like I felt like I could flow with it. And that to me was like a big thing, because I always see TypeScript as this big barrier to entry. You got to set up your tooling and whatever. But as long as you're using the right kind of systems that make it easy to get going, man, TypeScript, all the things. Yeah.
We were talking about this. We had a topic table on TypeScript yesterday, and I joined in, and we were talking about like, is it a barrier to entry anymore? And I don't think so, because like pretty much every major or even minor package out there, I have a line code called wait, and somebody submitted types for it. They all have types already. You can infer types for like I just built right before this podcast. I was like, man, I want to see my webcam, but the like Apple photo booth, they crop it to like this. So I was like, I built like it's called Check My Hair. And it's just, it just shows nice. Your webcam really quickly. And I'm like, I'm gonna build this in TypeScript. And like the number of lines, it was like maybe 40 lines of code. And there was 2 or 3 spots where I had to literally type something, and everything else was inferred, and you got all the benefits from the code completions and all that. So like, I don't think everything, no, you can still write really good JavaScript, but I think the barrier to TypeScript has become very low in the last year or so. That's specifically why I'm into it now, because you can get up and running even for silly projects super quickly.
Word.
Next one, you want to grab it?
What do you do to keep up to date with the latest and greatest changes in tech, front end libraries, new languages, etc.? Hey, here's actually do you have the GitHub app on your phone, Wes?
No, I don't.
Get it?
Do
man.
I?
The GitHub official app. Let me see. Pop it open here. This is. It's so good for finding new packages. There's an Explore tab on it, and it gives you a bunch of potential libraries that you might be interested in. Yeah, Explore. There we go. And I use this like crazy for finding stuff. I don't know how or why, but this to me like has really changed how I find projects, because it shows you trending stuff and whatever, but it's very good. And I use it all the time to find new things. I also look at awesome repos. You'll find things that are like awesome TypeScript, and then you just go down the line of list and look for cool stuff. And just look for neat little things. So that's what I do personally.
Next question we have here is, what do you do to keep up to date with the latest and greatest?
I already read that.
Tech?
I read that
sorry.
and answered it. I read and answered
Oh
it.
yeah, obviously answered that. For me, we get asked this question all the time. It's follow people on Twitter who follow this stuff, like Scott and I. Listen to Syntax, and like, what do Scott and I actually do? I read release notes of every single browser. I will, anytime there's like a working group that changes a proposal, there is a good Twitter account called Intent to Ship, which is really good, which means that like that at that point it's going to be in the browser in a couple of weeks. So just like kind of watch those, and you don't have to, it's not like you're going to miss something. If you listen to the podcast and follow a handful of good people on Twitter, you're going to hear about Subgrid 14 times. And the 15th time that you hear it, that's when you should probably pay attention, because okay, now it's a thing I need to implement in my app.
Speaking of cool new things, I saw Adam, or no, not Adam. Una tweeted this out. Houdini.how today. Oh yeah, Houdini.how. Very cool stuff for CSS Houdini. So I posted in the chat. Somebody go and check that out. All right. Wow, big wall of questions here. Yeah,
they came in. We got how much time left? No time. Let's just keep going until they kick us off. What other good questions do we got here? Can you share some exclusive barbecue tips? Low and slow, baby. Fish sauce. Did your mom try the fish sauce?
She did. Yeah, she made it. She made it. My mom was like, I'm making the recipe. And I'm like, what recipe? And she's like, the one from the podcast that Wes was talking about. So it's very fun. Yeah, she made it. No, she loved it. And we do something very similar to that all the time. We use fish sauce pretty heavy-handedly over here.
Fish sauce is a sick pick, I would say. All right. I'm just looking through it. What do you expect of Blitz.js in the coming years?
We'll see. I don't know. It's going to have a tough time because I think as somebody who's used like full stack frameworks, it takes a lot for them to like really take off. And Blitz.js is on top of Next.js, so at least has that going for it, where it's like, all right, this is like Next.js with Prisma and all this other stuff, right? And that's cool to me, but like, I feel like it will have a hard time getting people to really latch onto it and building a community. But I think it's cool, and I think it's worth doing.
I like this one. What's the first node module you install in a brand new React project besides React itself?
React Router.
For me, it's usually Next.js if it's multi-page, or Parcel if it is just a single little one-off app. And because Parcel will bundle it all for you, which is kind of cool. I like that. That was a good question.
Yeah. Thoughts on using languages other than JS or TS with React, like Kotlin, for example? I think is neat. I've kind of looked into some of this myself lately, but thoughts about using it? I'm not good at any other language, if we're being entirely honest. So, yeah, JS and TS for me all the way right now. But
yeah,
I'm learning Rust, but I'm not going to be super effective with it.
Yeah, I don't have all the time in the world to learn other languages, although they probably expand my horizons, but there's literally nothing wrong with just spending all of your time in JavaScript. All right, last one right here is, do you have any approach for optimizing high-res images that are stored in your backend, like S3 for a Gatsby website? We're talking about this on Twitter today. And there's a lot of services that will slurp up your image, transform it on demand, and return it. Cloudinary, ImageX, Sanity does it, whatnot. Those are like the best thing. Your own.
Yeah.
I think making your own is what I need to do, because I love that approach on demand rather than doing the Gatsby build, especially if it's a remote image. Next.js's image component does it with remote images, which is a killer feature, but not Gatsby's. And but like, I'm always like hesitant to be like, yeah, just pay this monthly cost for this service, and then the service will do it, because I do that. But then also, like, it sucks to have to tell someone just pay for it.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
Like,
yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool to like run it on like a serverless function or something like that? That'd be neat.
It'd be cool if there was like a spin up option where somebody had created like a pre-configured one where you could just like spin up your own Cloudinary. Okay.
Yeah. I think that does exist. It's just that like Cloudinary has 4 million features.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you use them, like they even have like sepia. Like if you wanted to sepia tone your photos like it's a digital camera from 2001, you could.
Or make it like into a photo booth at a Western show at Disneyland.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Oh, all right. I think we should end it off there. Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in. That was really fun. We always like doing these live ones. It's a bummer we couldn't do it in person, but hopefully next year we get the big shot in the arm and we'll be able to see you all in person.
What about sick picks? Do we want to do some sick picks before we bounce off?
Sick picks.
Sick picks. We pick things that are sick. I was just telling Wes, I'm overfloweth with sick picks over here. So, well, Wes goes and hunts for his. I'm going to pull up mine here. Sick picks. My sick pick, the thing that I think is sick, and this is going to be a very special one. This is the coolest little extension I've ever done used, and it's called Color Conversion. This is a VS Code extension, and so I'll post it real quick here. Find the actual links page. So I've been personally dealing with a lot of like moving colors to HSL, HSLA, doing a lot of variable work there. And I found this really neat extension for VS Code that allows me to convert colors from hex to HSLA, and it is so dang fast because you just basically highlight your color string, your hex value, you say go, turns it to HSLA. Again, I'll post it in the chat here. I'm like trying to Google it while I'm talking about it, but it's really nice to not have to leave your editor or whatever, just toggle through different types of color conversions. And this thing's been saving me some serious time.
I'm going to stick pick a lock picking kit. So we have this like vintage gumball machine in our house, and we bought it years ago. And we every now and then we put some candy in it for the kids, and they get a penny and they turn it and they get like a couple Smarties that come out. And it's getting full of money, and we don't have the key. We have the key to put the candy in, but we don't have the key to get the money out, and it's getting full. So I told Caitlin, I was like, oh, I'll learn to pick locks. So I bought this. It's an acrylic lock, so it's see-through, and you can see all of the pins in the lock, so you can see what you're doing. And then it comes with a whole bunch of different picks. I'm trying to pick it. I did it. I did it on camera. So it's a super cheap lock. That's why it's so easy to pick. The real locks are a lot harder than that. But it's cool because you can see what it's doing and how locks actually work. And that just is so helpful to understand, like when you are picking a real lock, what are you trying to do? Mm-hmm. Right now, you're not just jamming this pick in there. And it came
lining up the chambers.
Came with a whole bunch of different types of picks, and I watched Lockpicking Lawyer on YouTube. So
I watched so much lockpicking, trying to lockpick one of our doors, and because the door was locked, it was like a super fancy schlang lock or whatever.
Schlag, yeah, not a schlang.
Schlag. It's a schlang. I was slanging my schlang, and I could not get the thing open, obviously. And then I had a lockpicker come over, and he had to use like a whole like big rig machine to get it open. So I didn't feel too bad about myself after that.
Awesome. Shameless plugs, wesboss.com/courses is the list of all of my courses. You can use Syntax for $10 off.
And I'll shamelessly plug leveluptutorials.com. Sign up to become a pro, and you'll get access to 12 new tutorial series for the entire year, as well as the entire back catalog of thousands of video tutorials. So check it out, leveluptutorials.com. All
right. Thanks so much to Reactathon for having us. Thanks everybody in the chat. That was super fun. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast, syntax.fm, and in whatever podcast player you are using, and leave us a review.
Positive review. Say nice things about us too. Be cool.
Peace.